I can always edit this later. This is Tales from the Creek with Randall Liddell. How old are you, Dad?
I'm 69 years old.
69. You were born in December
69 years ago.
10th?
December 3rd, 1951.
3rd. Wow, I'm horrible at this.
It's okay.
So I wanted to get some of the really interesting and cool stories that I grew up hearing.
They were all lies.
They were pretty believable. I don't think they were that out there, but yeah, I just think it'd be cool to have record of that and share it with other people, and people can kind of get to enjoy what I got to enjoy growing up as far as hearing some cool stuff. So I don't know, is there anything you can remember off the top of your head that you remember telling me that you remember me and Aaron and John getting all excited about when we were kiddos? I know there's a lot of lion stories, a lot of stories about coyotes and bobcats and all kinds of animal stuff. So is there anything you can...
Well, one I remember real good when you say that about you and Aaron and John is the one time when I caught that cat up on top of that Blue Mountain, and I came home. I thought, well, I'd get one of y'all to shoot a lion so you could shoot one. And I came home and asked you and Aaron if you wanted to shoot it, and both of you said, no, we don't want to shoot it. And John goes, I will. And I go, you will? And he goes, yeah. So we went up there. Y'all didn't know it was trapped. You did. I don't know what y'all was thinking.
Yeah.
Y'all was pretty scared about. You thought that lion was going to eat you, I guess. But John, he was all for it. He didn't care. So anyway, we went down there, and because the lion was hung up in a bush, all wrapped up where he couldn't move very far. John got the pistol and shot the lion, and y'all go, well, I would have done that. Both of you started spouting off.
Yeah. Well, I remember it pretty close to that, but I remember getting up there, and there was no lion there, and we're like, where's the lion? You're like, it's on the other side, off the side of the mountain. It was dark at that point. It wasn't like there was no more light. It was the middle of the night. You would have seen. I mean, when you're a kid, it's just dark. It's the middle of the night. So we walked off the side of the mountain. I don't know, was it the north side? I forget which side it was, and you could hear the cat. You could hear it making all kinds of racket, and it was, like you said, it was hung up in a tree.
I don't remember.
And that's when you're like, who wants to shoot it? Me and Aaron were like, nope, we ain't. And you had the flashlight on it, and it's like torn up the entire base of that tree. And we thought that thing could come off there at any point. And we were.
Thought I was taking it up there.
We were big chickens, and John was. Yeah, John. I don't think John had any idea what he was doing.
No
he didn't
fear.
Care. Yeah, he was like, give it to me.
Yeah.
I'll shoot it.
Yeah, I do. He did it.
Yeah.
I had to help him, but he did it.
You got a bunch of cats on that spot, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I used to catch about 7 a year right there.
Yeah.
That one spot. Caught a bunch of.
I remember coming home, and there always seems like there's always a mountain lion like in the backyard that you would let us take a picture with.
Well, I know that one time that same trap set, we had that motorcycle, the doodah they called it, and he came, all the guys came. Well, they came early. Some of the guys came early. They were supposed to come on like on Thursday, and then they were going to ride Friday. Well, they came on Wednesday, and I'd left that trap set up because I wanted another night as long as I could get that. I didn't want to pull the trap because with people coming, I was going to pull the trap.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went up that day to pull the trap because those people showed up. Well, they'd already got it on their bikes. Oh, actually, they called me and told me that there was a lion in that. They'd already gone up there, and there was that old motorcycle cattle guards that went over the fence where you didn't have to stop for a gate. You could just ride your motorcycle over the top of the fence. Well, when they came over that cattle guard, that lion was right there, and he jumped out. And the first guy that went over, he bailed off and crashed. I mean, he's lucky too. I mean, because that cat was hung up, and the dad and the other guy that were behind him, they stopped, but they said they wish they'd had that on video.
Yeah. So that's reminds me of this other story, which I feel like is probably got to be like top 5. Is something to do with a motorcycle and a coyote. That's a good story. No.
What about it?
That's a good one.
Right, that's a good one.
Actually, Stephen was funny the other day. I think it was Stephen or
Yes,
somebody was.
It was.
He was talking about running those cows with the cars. How they'd run over them with those little ATV deals.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Alex and all them. Somebody. Anyway, I didn't bring up the coyote because
Can you bring it up?
I didn't bring it up.
You don't want to
Still
have to.
hurts.
Well, how's that story go?
Well, we went to the flat and we went to count antelope.
Mm-hmm.
Just me and Barry and we was going across the flat out there. We was in number 4, I think.
And you were on dirt bikes.
Yeah, we were on dirt bikes.
Those XR 250s or whatever those are.
We were, and we were in 4. Pretty sure it was number 4. Anyway, we jumped a coyote and we took off after it, trying to run it down. And I had to brainstorm idea that it started heading for the highway fence. It was going to go through that fence and get away from us. And so when he turned and headed that way, he was about, I don't know, maybe he was a half a mile or so from that fence. So I made a big loop and came around and thought I'd broadside him. Well, the first time I come around, I misjudged him and he got by me, so I had to make another loop. And I wasn't as lucky the second time. I was only about 100 yards from the fence when I broadsided him. And
It was a good shot. You hit him.
yeah, it was something I wish I'd have missed. But yeah, it kind of threw me in the dirt, and I woke up on the ground, and I look up, and my motorcycle's laying on one side, and I look over, and here's the coyote laying there, and he's sitting up on his front legs. It broke his back, dislocated my shoulder, and separated my collarbone. And Barry comes pulling up there, and he's laughing so hard he can't even stand up. He said, I said, Barry, he tried to get me up. I said, Barry, do not touch me. Do not move me. I do not want to move. And he kept laughing. And he goes, oh, the coyote's still alive. And I said, yeah. Well, I said, maybe you can find something. He said, I'm going to go look for something to hit him in the head. So he took off and left. And I sat there and I got up and I looked at that coyote. I was pretty ticked. I took my helmet off and I whacked him with my helmet a few times and killed him, put him out of his misery. He was back was broke, but anyway.
You didn't wait for Barry.
That was with your good arm. Was that your left
Yeah,
arm?
it was with the I couldn't even hardly lift my right arm. No, it's still when I like saying it, it still hurts when I think about it. It hurts. It still bothers me to this day.
How fast do you think you're going when you hit him?
Fast, probably. If I was guessing, probably 40.
40 right to the ground.
Yeah, no, that's one of the hardest times I've ever hit the ground.
I remember you're in that sling thing for a long time, and you had to wear that deal on your. I guess it was the same thing on your back.
Yeah.
To like, sure.
Yeah, no, it was one of them I wish I'd missed. So, but I got him.
Yeah, you got him. He didn't get away.
He didn't get away. No, he sure didn't.
Yeah, that was
I paid for it though, and then I had to ride all the way home with one arm.
With one arm? How did you do that?
I just set the other one on the handlebars, and it kind of just I could hold it out there and grip, and that was enough. Driving slow, I didn't go cross country. I got on the road, and I didn't go fast. I went real slow, and Barry didn't go fast. We both went in real slow. But
yeah, I can't imagine trying to ride a motorcycle with one arm. Sounds pretty hard, especially. I guess it's your throttle hand, so I guess it's
right. Yeah, I was able to get in,
Mm.
but I didn't want to do it. I mean, Barry wanted to, you know, go get the truck, and I said, no, I can do it. So we got in. It was fine.
Mm.
I mean, it didn't hurt as bad as it did when I first did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was very uncomfortable.
I can imagine. Or I can't imagine. I don't know. Either one or the other.
Well, good thing. Don't ever try running over a coyote with a motorcycle on purpose anyway.
Trying to think of what other ones we got. Mountain lion story, a coyote story. I wonder what other
Snakes.
ones. Oh yeah, there's some. I remember one about a snake, rattlesnake or something.
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
Take your pick. We'll get one this time and another one later.
The gray, you and Aaron.
Oh, you mean when I fell in the water with you?
Yeah.
We was hunting pigs, and Aaron had come across. I'd let him out up on top of the gray tank, and he was coming off the top chasing these pigs. So I thought I'd go around to the bottom and cut them off at that tank when they come around that tank. So I started walking the shoreline around the edge of that tank, and I got back in that canyon, and got back there, and there was a big rock slide, and I started going through that rock slide, and it was right at the edge of the water, and I looked up, and there was a rattlesnake, and I thought, well, what am I going to do? Because it's in the rock slide, and I'm in the rock slide, and so anyway, I was going to try to get around him, and in the process of getting him around him, the rock slide came loose, and me and the snake went in the water. He was right below me, and me and the snake went in the water, and I had no idea where he was, and didn't know how many rocks, because I mean there was a lot of rocks that came down, knocked me in the water. It's lucky I didn't get something falling on me, but anyway, I never saw the snake.
You had your gun, didn't you?
Yeah, I got all wet. I went in the water, and the snake went in the water, and had my gun and everything, but the snake disappeared, and I don't know if he ever came back up, and I got covered up by rocks, because that was a pretty good rock slide that I went through.
And he was below you?
The snake was, yeah.
That's good. At least it was.
Yeah, I was trying to go above him, get around him. He was in the rock slide, and I tried to go, and those rocks were a little looser than.
Was that the same tank? Or not? It's got to be a different one where the Clayton and the frog thing. Was it?
Oh, the
Clayton?
gigging, the frog gigging.
There's a story with Clayton that Clayton likes.
Yeah, Clayton told.
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah.
That skinny dipping?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a different tank? Or is that right there in the gray?
I think we were in the Henderson when that happened.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That just, I mean, I didn't want to get in there with all my clothes on.
But he went and told everybody at the gym that.
Yeah, he told everybody at the basketball game that I was skinny dipping. Grandpa, there was skinny dipping in the tank or something. I don't remember what he said. But.
There's one with the gigging the frogs where we were gigging them and then shooting them with 22s. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah, they caught 3 frogs the other day, and they wanted me to fry them. And I said, oh, yeah, I'll fry them, because we had a fish fry. And I said, yeah, they asked me if I ever ate frog. I said, yeah, we used to go on frog. I said, every time Barry would come he'd go fishing, then when he'd leave, we'd use the boat before we pulled it out, and we'd go that night, and we'd go around and gig and shoot frogs. Back then, they were big frogs. You know, they were the ones they had the other day weren't even half as big as one.
Really, they weren't big bullfrogs.
They weren't very big at all. I mean, they were about like this.
Yeah.
But, we used to get the ones.
Yeah.
The legs were that big around.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I cooked ones. I don't know who ate them because I didn't stay around after the fish fry. I don't know. But yeah, we used to do that a lot, y'all. Yeah. All of us.
I remember there's one that we shot with a 22 and it jumped in the water, and then we went around edge of the bank and came back later around that same area and put the flashlight on. There's a frog with his mouth open, just it's the one we shot, and I guess it shot him in the
jaw.
Yeah, and his mouth was just open. You couldn't close his mouth anymore. It's just like a smiling frog with his mouth open. It's pretty
Poor
funny.
guy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, they're not real easy.
Yeah.
You know, you shoot them and they jump in the water, and then they don't come up.
Well, even when you're gigging them, if you hit them in that backbone, they just kind of
Yeah,
slide
no,
around.
you got to hit them really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not like easy to do. Yeah, you got to be real aggressive.
Yeah,
For
definitely
sure.
had an
Do you
interesting
remember that
shot there.
time that your truck went? Oh no, that's a different one. Where it landed on the branch or something
Oh.
Oh, you mean when it ran off the road?
when you ran off the road.
Yeah, I remember it shooting that. You don't forget that. You forget that one.
Yeah, well, how's that story go?
Well, I was going to go to church that evening, and I was late. I left the house, and I was going down the highway going toward town, and when I looked across the meadow, I saw a bunch of feral hogs. And they were right there by that canyon that goes up the cement road, that road. So I pulled in that gate and went back there. And sure enough, they ran right down that creek bottom, ran right up that canyon. So I just stayed on the road above them and got up there, go through that first little creek crossing and come up where you start going up. And the pigs were all down below me, so I passed them. I got past them so I could get out of the truck, and I got out of the truck, and I grabbed a shotgun I had. And I thought I'd put the emergency brake on good. And I jumped out of the truck, and when I reached to get the shotgun, it was in the back seat. So I had to, it's that super cab, so I opened the back door, grabbed the shotgun. When I came out, I was going to go toward the back of the truck, so the front door is shut. And then when I pulled back, the back door shut over the top of it. You know, it can't shut,
Yeah.
but it would close over the front door. So I took off down the road back behind me because the pigs, when all this happened, they stopped and they started running back the other direction. So I started shooting them with that shotgun. They were right below me, probably about 20, 25 yards below me, and I had double hot buck. And I started shooting at them and emptied the shotgun, and I stopped and I looked back, and here comes the truck down the road. And I ran up to the side of the truck so I was going to get in it and try to stop it. And, well, I couldn't get in it because the doors I couldn't open the door, which was probably a good thing because then it went off the side of the road off about a 35-foot drop. And, but it hung up on a tree stump and a tree. So when it was all said and done, the truck never hit the ground. It went off, and a limb went through one side and went through one window and at the cab, and an old stump that was there that was on the side of the mountain growth that had been cut off. It stuck up underneath the rear end, so the truck just went off and stuck, and it was laying on its side, hanging on the side of the road, where the built road. And I could stand on the door flat. It was even with the door was even with the top of the road. You could stand on it, and there was nothing underneath it. It was hanging, literally hanging. And 3 trucks and a tractor, we got it out. I drove it. It's still running, still at the ranch.
Did you pull it up off of it this way or something? Like, how'd you get it off of there?
First thing we did was we tried to come along in a chain to the headache rack on the truck and tied it to a tree up across the road on the upper side of the mountain, so that the truck, it would keep the truck from rolling over.
Mm-hmm.
And then we tied a Suburban to the trying to remember which direction we pulled it. I think we pulled a Suburban to the front of it, to the back of it, so that the back couldn't go off anymore. And I had that big 4-wheel drive tractor chained to the front. Mm-hmm. And we only had the tractor and the truck, the Suburban, that's right. And so then with the That tractor's a big tractor.
Is
And
it
then
that big
you-
blue one? Is it that big blue one?
The big
Green.
green one.
Oh, okay. He's a big blue
Big
one.
John Deere, yeah. No, it's a big one. I forget what. It's 4-wheel drive. You know, the front tires are tall as most tractors' back tires.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it was able to pull us out. I pulled it back on the road, got it back up there without it sliding off. We're still driving it. It's got a dent above one window where the tree limb went through.
Yeah. But you had a bunch of junk all over.
Well, the inside was a little messy.
Yeah. That's one thing I remember going up the side of the mountains and stuff and sitting there trying to hold on and you're going over rocks and stuff and there's like stuff flying everywhere off the
Yeah,
dash.
it does.
You remember all
Still
that stuff?
happens. Or
And then half the time you're not even paying attention to the road, you're looking out the window or whatever. Something
Yes.
looking for I don't know
That's
what.
like when I took my cousin Paul up on Blue Mountain. You know, that's a rough road,
Yeah.
especially when you get toward that upper part.
Mhm.
It's hold on and gas it. And we got about halfway up. And all the stuff on the dash had fallen off like 2 times on the floor. And he picked it up and put it all back on the dash. We started up the last part. We hit a bump and something fell off the dash. He just grabbed everything on the dash and threw it in the floor.
He learned a lesson. I remember as a kid going up that road a lot in that first, because you have mountain on one side and cliff on the other side, basically.
Mhm.
And we're going, driving, and when you're going up, the passenger is on the, looking off, and there's nothing there. I remember like looking over the edge and just like, yeah, there's nothing there. And then you look over at him, and he's just like looking around, driving, like not even paying attention to what's going on the whole time. Doesn't
Sure.
look like it. I mean,
Yeah.
you were, but you're so used to it, or it's so
Yeah.
much second nature. It seems a little nonchalant, like no big deal. And
When you're driving, it's always different.
I don't like to go up Blue at all.
it's pretty fun. We gotta take William up there at some point.
Can't.
When he tells me, invites me, I says, "Are you going up Blue?" "No, I'll go if you're not going up Blue. I'll go with you, but you're going up there, I'm not going."
Grandma Jenny didn't like it either.
Yeah.
But she got scared on an anthill. She did not like heights or
pretty-
snakes.
It's a pretty big mountain.
No, it is. No, I remember one time I took this friend of Barry and Nancy. They came out. There was a couple. He was a preacher, minister at the Presbyterian Church there in Midland. I can't think of his name. He's a real nice man. Him and his wife, and their daughter. And they had a young girl that was a friend of their daughter's who was from somewhere in Asia. An Asian girl, couldn't speak real good English.
Foreign exchange student type.
She could have been. I don't remember. It's been so long ago, but I think she could have been something else. I don't know. I just remember she was from somewhere else, and we got up to the top, and they said, "Do you mind if she switches sides because she's afraid of heights?" And she was on the side like you, where you look down all the time, and she was scared the whole time. And they said, "Can she switch sides?" And I said, "Fine with me." Well, she switched sides. Well, she was on the down side the whole way going down. So anyway, kind of crazy.
Yeah. I just remember a lot of things about that mountain, as far as like fires and arrowhead hunting and hunting rabbits and all kinds of stuff over there. I don't remember. There was a lot of the chasing coyotes too in those pastures around there. Is that the same area right below Blue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the best area, but right now that's where Worth and Hammer, they entered that coyote competition there. They had there locally where you shoot so many coyotes and a bobcat, and they went out that morning. They got one coyote, and they were all disappointed, and they won like $600. It was the biggest coyote shot that day because they gave her one for the heaviest one. If you got the heaviest cat or something, you got quite a bit of money. It was a pretty good purse, but for just the heaviest coyote, they got $600, not a piece,
That's
but
still
they
pretty
shared. No, that's not bad. And we all laughed because they shot it in the quail pasture, And Barry's been saying, he was always saying, well, I don't know where all the quail went. And they all laughed and said, that big old fat cow was the one that was eating all those quail. Because he weighed, I don't remember what he weighed, but they won that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
To go out, spend the whole day, and they thought they weren't even going to be in it because wind was blowing real hard, and it was the only cow that they saw, but it was the right one.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing to do? Calling, or spotlighting, or like just deer hunting? I mean, you did all kinds of hunting, trapping. Like what? I mean, I guess you liked all of it, but I mean, I remember doing all those different things. And your kids, was there one that you liked more than the others, or it's kind of whatever?
Well, anything that had to do with lions. I liked hunting at night. Your mother was with me. Like, I don't know how many times you were with me when we got a lion, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, and they was always neat. You were with me too.
Oh yeah.
You know, we didn't get that lion, but I think we put holes in him. We just never did find him. But I mean, it's more exciting. In fact, that night was one of the neatest nights that I can remember, because remember it was thundering and lightning. That was because I remember after we tried to shoot that lion, I went out on top and in the dark, and the lightning striking, and you were with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think it was Becky too.
Yeah, Becky was there too. Yeah, she stayed in the truck though.
Yeah.
She didn't go up on the mountain.
Yeah.
But I thought that was the neatest thing, because the wind was blowing, it was stormy.
Yeah.
There was lightning strikes and thunder, and it was just kind of like a neat hunt. It was pretty exciting. So
I had a shot at that one. I could have, if I would have taken it. It was brief, and I was waiting for something better.
Right. No, you've had a couple of opportunities to shoot a lion, but they weren't what you call good opportunities. You know, you had to make a perfect timing shot when you were doing it both times. And you know, that's.
I mean, I could have. Let me go let him out real quick over here.
Huh?
I'm gonna let Louie out.
You want to turn this off?
No. Go ahead. I can edit it out.
Oh, we edited it. Okay, Susan, tell us a joke.
I don't know any jokes. I can't remember them.
You can remember a joke.
A joke.
Yeah, your mother was. I think she was with me when I got that biggest lion that night. We chased it, and then we shot it, and it got away from us. But we went back the next day, and we found it, and got it. It was about a quarter of a mile from where we shot it that night. Still alive, and still trying to go up the mountain. But he was. I don't remember where I'd hit him, but. Seemed like I'd shot him in the front shoulder, because that's usually where I was trying to aim, was the chest cavity. And I think it broke his front leg, and he was having trouble going up. And the next day when we found him, he was pretty far up the mountain. He was going up, and he was enough ahead of us that we wasn't going to beat him to the top of the mountain. So I shot him in the back leg, and then he had a back leg and a front leg shot, because I couldn't get a good shot at him. And anyway, he came back down the mountain and went and hid in some rocks. Remember Barbie? Well, Barbie went up there, the dog, and there were like some big old rocks, and I saw her go around those rocks, and she went in here, and she come around, and all of a sudden you heard, "Rawr, rawr, rawr." She come flying out there, and she turned, she was barking, and I said, that lion's right there. So we went up there and shot it.
Yeah. When you're talking about that, it reminded me of I don't know why I pictured it the same area where the thing with JT with the was it a cutout or something?
Wait, what?
Wasn't it cutout?
That was Stuart.
Or was it Stuart?
Oh,
I think.
with the stuff line.
Was that what it was? The stuff.
Yeah, that I don't remember who gave me that. The taxidermist in Alpine gave me that stuffed line. It wasn't a very good one, but from at night from 100 yards, you couldn't tell it from a good one.
I'm a real.
And yeah, and I put it up on that rock, and then the only thing is the light eyes wouldn't shine. I should have got some of that reflector tape. I'd have really had him then, but I mean, I had him. He shot it 3 times. It was funny. I said, "Look up there." You can see that line standing. I could see it real good because I knew exactly where.
Yeah.
He said, "Where?" I said, "It's right on top of that rock right there." I said, "You don't see it?" And I had the light shining out. I don't see it. I said, "I don't see no eyes." I said, "You can't see its eyes." I said, "He's not looking right at us." And he goes, "Oh, I see it. I'm going to shoot." Boom. The line didn't move. I missed him. Shoot again. Boom. Golly. I said, "No, I think you might have hit him." He goes, "I'm going to shoot again." Boom. He goes, "Randy." He caught on the 3rd shot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was.
It could have been a lot more shots than that.
Yeah, I did that to Stacy Eckley, to him and his brother-in-law. Yeah, it was his wife's brother. Same place. But
Did he get mad? He seemed like he'd be the type who might get mad.
No. But what was funny is we shot, and then everybody got out of the truck and they all went up there because he knocked it off the rock. Well, his brother-in-law was about 6'5" or 6", big old long skinny tall guy, and tall and thin, big guy.
Yeah.
But we went up there and he went around that rock with a flashlight and he shined. That line was there where they'd fallen off. It wasn't a real line, but he didn't know it. He went backwards down that mountain about 15 yards, about as fast as anybody could go down it forward. I mean, he went. I couldn't believe he covered it. It scared him to death. He went off the side of that mountain. Of course, I can understand why too. Yeah. Yeah, no, you up there on the side of the mountain and you ain't got and that's what he didn't have a gun. You know, I have a gun, so
yeah.
No, it makes a lot of difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the time when I went with BJ. That time we shot that line and saw 2 more, and I shot it. I knew I hit it, but I didn't know where it'd gone. So me and him went up the mountain. And we were walking along up there in the dark with just a flashlight. I had a gun. I had a rifle. BJ didn't have nothing. He didn't have a flashlight or a rifle or nothing. And he was following me up that mountain. He goes, "Randy," he said, "you're awfully brave." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Come up here after a wounded lion." I said, "Well, I got a gun and a flashlight, BJ. You ain't got nothing." I said, "You're the one that's brave."
Yeah, you're braver than me. He turned around and leave that.
No, I don't remember what he said. He probably said, "Yeah, you're probably right." But he was up there with nothing. And we found it. We found that line. And
what about the lions that y'all killed? They were in the same place where you almost lost the truck? Or remember those lions that y'all shot at?
Oh, the ones that were fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's a crazy too.
Who was that with? That was with JT.
No, that was with
Andy?
No. The guy that used to be your baseball coach. What's his name?
Buchanan?
Buchanan.
Um,
yeah, I can't either.
Blaine's his kiddo.
Blaine's his boy, yeah. But anyway, he was one because Rick had come out and Johnny Harvey works for the highway department and somebody reported those lines crossing the road. So we come out and Rick turned out on the road, but all his dogs went south of the road. So me and what's his name? I can't think of his name.
Oh.
Who were we talking about? Blaine's dad?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Oh, I can't remember his name.
Blaine's dad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, we went up that road that goes up toward the cement road, and we stopped at the bottom of where it starts up, and we got out and we started walking up the road, and walked quite a ways up there. Walked probably about 300 yards up that road, and we was going along, and we started hearing the dogs barking back behind us, and so anyway, I looked up, and all of a sudden, on the above the road, there's a road cut, and then the mountain goes up, and above there's a trail, and up on that trail, we looked up, and there's two big old lines coming down that trail, one of them behind the other one.
Running after each other.
They were fighting over that female is what it was. We didn't know at the time, but there were two big toms, and there was that female that crossed the road with the kittens, and these guys were fighting over her, and that's what we heard fighting. We didn't know what it was because when we were down the highway, we kept hearing all this noise up there. We thought it was javelinas, and well, it wasn't. It was those lions fighting. And we got up there, and of course I had that little old 222 rifle, which is plenty good, but those lines were only about maybe 20 yards away on that trail, and when I shot dead on. Well, I didn't allow for wasn't being very far away, so the bullet hit low and hit him kind of low and went underneath his shoulder and caught him in this kind of like in the sternum area. And when it hit him, he just jumped straight up in the air and turned around and was facing that other line. What I figured, he thought that line had bit him because he didn't know what had hit him, but something hurt, and he got his attention. And they bowed up and they were growling like that. Well, I guess about that time, he realized that, hey, something's, because it went into his chest cavity. And he was probably thinking, well, I can't outrun this guy, I can't do nothing. Anyway, for whatever reason, they were right above. He comes straight down that mountain right at us. Well, he jumped off that high side of the road cut. He jumped, and when he jumped, I had that gun already loaded, and he was only probably that far from the end of my barrel when I shot him. He just jumped, and I pointed and hit him right behind the ear, and he hit right in the middle of the road dead. He was dead when he hit the ground. And that other line chased him. He jumped over the top of us and jumped all the way across the road cut down and went down the creek bottom down there. And we could see him, and he was looking for that line. He didn't know where that line went because he knew he was chasing him, and all of a sudden he disappeared. And he was behind a bush. And I knew if he took off, it'd be so fast I probably wouldn't get a good shot, or even it was dark down that creek bottom. And so anyway, I took a shot at him, and that bush, I'm sure, deflected it. Anyway, he just took off, and he run up the canyon and disappeared. And about that, maybe within 5 minutes, Rick showed up with all the dogs. So we lit them out on that scent, and they chased that line up. We went up on the top where that little canyon topped out, and went up on the top of that little hill there, and got up there on top, and that line had gone up under a great big old rock, and he crawled way back inside under there, and you could crawl back in underneath there, and you could see him, but he'd backed in there. And when you crawled in there, you were completely inside. There was no part of you sticking out. You had to crawl way up in there. And we'd crawl up in there and shine the light, and he was growl at you. And so, anyway, I had one round left in my rifle. That's all I had left. Because it's like a 4-shot rifle. Yeah. And I didn't want to shoot him up in there in that rock. I thought, if I shoot him, and if he doesn't kill him right off the bat, and you're laying here, when he gets through with you, and then the dogs too, even if he got by you, if he's wounded and he gets out and gets one of those dogs were expensive dogs too, line dogs, and didn't want him to kill a dog, so I just backed out. And then Mike Pittman, I don't know if you remember Mike Pittman. Anyway, he was with Parks and Wildlife at that time. Yeah, he was a biologist. Anyway, he was showed up with Rick too.
He was married to the Finley.
Yeah.
Jennifer's mom.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Anyway,
I
he Rick had, no, I know what it was. It was Rick had to leave to do something. He went out and he told Mike. Mike wasn't with us then. He went and got Mike off the highway or somewhere and told him how to get. And that was amazing that Mike got back and found us up there where we were because it was not an easy place to get to. But he came up there and he was he had a 357 rifle, but he was pistol, but he was just had wad cutters in it. And he crawled back in there and shot that line. And me and Scott McIver was out front where that you could crawl underneath there, and then you could crawl out. There was a little shelf there, and then it fell off about 7 feet to another little landing area. And when he shot, he said he's coming out, and that line come out of there. Well, I jumped off as you're facing the rock, I jumped off the left side, and Scott jumped off the right side because we were on that little shelf, and we just jumped down to that next deal. And when he went by, Mike shot again. We heard he shot when the line run by him, and that line jumped over us, and of course he hit down below, and then he took off running. Well, when I got up, I looked up, and there's blood on the ground. I could see a blood trail, so I got up and started following that blood trail. Well, I get up there about 15 yards, and Scott, he's standing there, and I look at him, and he's got blood running all down. So that blood trail was Scott's blood trail, wasn't the line. That when that line come out of that hole, when he jumped off of that little ledge, when Scott jumped down there, and he knocked a big old rock off, and that rock hit Scott in the head. He was bleeding real bad. And so we took off and went up there, and we found that line. He was up there laying dead.
Okay, so he did hit him with. I was gonna say, how did he not hit him with it?
The second shot's what killed him. The first shot, he shot him. He said, "I shot him right between the eyes." Well, I skinned that line out, and that line had backed up in there, and he was kind of backed like this, so he was kind of up and looking down. So when he shot him between the eyes, all it did was go through his sinus passages. It went through his sinuses, and it was in the skin between his jaw. It was right. It hadn't even gone all the way through because they were wad cutters. It went through his sinuses and got stuck. Went through the top of his mouth, roof of his mouth, and got stuck in that skin on the bottom jaw. That's where the bullet was. That's where I found it. Of course, the other one killed him. When he came by, he hit him right square in the side, and he ran.
How many people were there? It sounds like there were several people.
Well, it was me and Scott, and at that time it was me and Scott and Mike right there. We were the three that was there. And then, of course, when we carried it out.
Is it Delbert?
Delbert Buchanan. That's who was with me. Delbert might have been right there too. I don't remember if he went up there.
That's what I mean. There was a bunch of people.
Well, there was 4 or 5 of us total, but Rick had to leave. He had to go somewhere. He left.
That's weird too, because it seemed like he was always after lions.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, 06, he was always trapping and chasing them, and
I guess he figured there 5 of y'all that were still left could handle it.
he figured what?
Y'all could handle it. There was enough of y'all that could handle it.
He had to be somewhere for something. He had to meet somebody or do something, and he said, "I gotta go, guys. I can't." So, and we didn't have a gun. I had one round for my rifle. So he said, "I'll go get somebody and send them back." That's when he sent Mike.
Yeah.
You know, but Mike made it back in there. We shot the line, and they were both big lines. They weren't little ones. One was over 7 foot. One was 7 foot long, I think, and the other one was 7 foot 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
They were both big toms.
Did they find the female?
They were they were after that female.
But did they find it? No.
We never did find the female. We didn't get the female.
I
might have later, but I didn't. Right that day, we didn't find them.
All those years too, you never found a cub, a lion cub, like that was small enough to.
Not real little.
Yeah.
You just seen those ones I had that were about the size of about the size of Louis.
Yeah.
They were about that size, maybe a little bigger, not much bigger, about that size. But they were mean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You never found one that was small enough that was. I don't know.
To raise, no.
Yeah, I don't even know what you would do with that.
You know, those bobcats were bad enough. You know, they get. Your mother loved them.
No.
Is it the one that was in the bathroom?
Yes.
Oh yeah, he was mean.
He was
Bit
mean.
me.
Yeah, he was was no
It
fun.
bit me in
anymore.
the finger. That was it.
Getting my toes, I was like, I
Yeah,
try to just
yeah. He finally bit me and I killed him.
The last time.
He got.
Wasn't speaking of that bathroom? Wasn't there a time you went in there and there was a snake on the window seal or something? Am I making that up?
No.
No, we had one in the other room, the kitchen.
In the kitchen,
Oh,
under
okay.
the stove. A little rattlesnake.
Oh. How did I get inside?
Came through the back door. There's a little opening where it doesn't close good. Came in there. He was not a very big rattlesnake. Probably a little over a foot long, maybe. I don't know. He wasn't very big.
I killed one out there, right off the back porch before.
Yeah, no, we haven't. We already killed a copperhead this year. So no, there's.
I guess
Well,
with a lot of water, there's gonna be more snakes.
Well, that helps, but right now there's no. I haven't seen but one snake this year. No, two. That patch nose, we saw a patch nose yesterday, and then that copperhead. That's only two snakes I've seen all year, because it's so dry. They can't afford. If they get out, and they ain't got nothing to drink, they'll die. So they just stay in where it's cool and dormant. And like this rain, they'll probably start moving around a little bit. But yeah, they'll die. But they'll have to if they want to live. They're going to have to take a chance. But, yeah, no, there's every one of the dogs had been bit at least one time. Dexter had been bit 4 times. Molly's been bit twice. Yum Yum had been bitten two or three times, and we think that's what killed her because she was acting real funny, and when we got back, she was dead. So we don't know what happened. She was kind of swelled up, so we figured it was a snake. And then Birdie's been bit once or twice. I know she's been bit once. I don't know if
she's the littlest one, wasn't she? And she like the smallest of all of them.
Yeah, she's little skinny, not skinny, little bitty dog. Yeah, she's less than 10 pounds. But Dexter, there's a couple times he got bit and I didn't think he was going to make it. Well, he'd been bit 4 times, and the last 2 times he was just laid there for like 3 or 4 days and he didn't know if he's alive or not. We just go by and you could tell he wasn't dead, but he sure couldn't tell he was doing anything. It was all swole up. But the first time he got bit was funny because I didn't know he got bit. And I was going to town, and he went and jumped in the front of the truck like he always does. So I'm driving to town, and he'd sat on the console. I looked over there, and I looked at him, and his head was all swollen. It was huge. I looked at him, and I thought, what in the world happened to you? And they go, oh, he got snake bit. I mean, he got, they swell real bad, and when he swelled, he looked really funny. I got kind of tickled.
You should have taken a picture of him.
I think I did. It's on one of something somewhere. Yeah.
Your iPhone 1, your original one.
Well, I've got one of my phones that it won't turn on no more. It's got stuff in it. I probably can plug it in, charge it, and plug it in and download them, couldn't I?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, you can't get to the.
Yeah.
You can't tell what's what.
It may. I don't know. It's possible.
But it's got a lot of neat pictures on it. That phone does.
Yeah.
That's maybe the one that went in with water with me with a snake.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember.
There was one earlier. Oh, what was it that I thought of when you were telling another story? Trying to remember what it was, because there was. Oh, it was the one with I think it was JT. I just remember shooting one of the gray. I think JT shot it, maybe.
He shot one down there,
yeah. I just remember being in the back of the truck, and I think he shot it from the back of the truck.
He did.
And it was maybe like 40 yards away. It was right on the side of the mountain. It came down the side of the mountain, mad and a ball of fur and claws and stuff. And I remember thinking, I need to get somewhere else other than back of this truck. I mean, it died obviously, but I just remember being young enough to think like this doesn't feel safe.
Yeah, you're pretty safe most of the time. I mean, I've only had one line come after me that was really a threat to me. So
only one?
Well, one that actually saw me and came after me. I've had some lunge at me and strike at me and stuff like that, you know, swat at me or whatever, but that's because I was too close. This one was, when I saw it, it was probably, I'd say 15, maybe 20 yards away from me.
Mm.
And when it saw me, it came at me, but it was had a trap on its foot and a drag on the end of the trap. And when the when the drag hung up, he swung the line sideways. The line was coming up an embankment toward me, and when that drag caught the line, it pulled it around, and I had already had my pistol up by then, and I shot it. Had a broadside shot by then.
Yeah.
But
which pistol were you shooting? What did you have? Who knows?
Sure, it was a 9mm, probably a Glock.
Mm.
Probably couldn't have been a Glock because I've never owned I've only owned one Glock 9mm, and I never even shot it. It was probably a 40.
Yeah.
Because I carried the Glock 40s all the time. Still got one. But anyway.
I remember I think it was on the other side of Blue where the ranch is, and you had a bunch of snares down one of those fences, and there's I think it was a bobcat in one of them.
I've caught bobcat.
It was a bobcat or a coyote. I'm trying to remember. I just remember you got out of the truck and you don't want to waste any ammo, so you had this
stick.
That I don't know. I guess what do you call it's like a billy club almost type thing.
No, it's a nightstick. It's one that police use. Actually, I got it from Ross.
Yeah.
Ross gave it to me.
Yeah.
Not for necessarily killing coyotes and bobcats, but yeah, it was. I still have that. It's pretty chewed up.
Yeah. Well, I remember.
I used it for coyotes mainly.
What is he gonna do? He's gonna go beat it to death.
You don't have to hit them, but if you hit them right, you don't hit them about one time.
Yeah.
But it's pretty knocks them out.
Yeah, I think you hit him one time and then another time for good measure.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah.
Yeah, you hit them on the top of the head. If you get a good crack on them, it'll smash their skull. And But I did do that one time to one out on the flat. I had in a snare, and I hit him in the head with that stick. And I went into town, and I was going down. I had it laying in. It was thrown. I threw it in the back of the truck, and I went down to see that taxidermist guy, old Buzz Ross. Mm-hmm. I pulled up out front of his place there and went inside, talked to him about something. I don't remember what. And I don't know if him, but Kathy. I don't know if you remember Kathy, his little girlfriend that was from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And she said something to me, and I said, "Yeah." I said, "I got a cow this morning out of here on the cemetery." And she did. She go, "You're dead." I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's in the back of the truck." She, "Oh, can I see it?" You know, and I said, "Yeah, go." Well, when she walked up to the back of the truck, the cow stood up. And she goes, "Oh, Buzz, it is a wife. It is a wife." Not alive, a wife, you know. Yeah. Kathy, you know, she had a real heavy accent. Because that cow looked right at Kathy out of the back of that truck. It wasn't going nowhere.
Yeah, his brain's knocked out. He's still alive though.
He was still alive enough to set up. And he gave Kathy a pretty good start.
That guy was pretty nuts too. Didn't he like...
You mean Buzz?
Yeah, like shock himself with
Oh yeah, he was trying to get bit by a rattlesnake or a poisonous snake. Depending on what it was or something, I wouldn't say every time. He'd been bitten 2 or 3 times, and he would get a car battery and shock to neutralize the venom, the poison.
I guess it worked.
He was still. That's not what killed him. He died of cancer. So. Yeah. No, Buzz did a lot of crazy things, and I guess it was. I've seen quite a few. Well, if I look back over years, I know like 3 people that got bit by rattlesnakes, and all but one. Well, 4 people, and 3 of them they got bit on the hand, because that's one of the most common because you're reaching. And Buzz got bit on the hand too, but he was messing with those snakes because he had all those snakes. but most of them had some, either their hand was shriveled where they gotten bit later on. Buzz, I never saw anything that looked unnormal. He didn't seem to have any, uh,
Side effect.
whatever
Yeah.
deformity from the bite.
Mm-hmm.
He but it would get kind of nasty looking, you know.
Yeah.
And
I don't know which sounds more
but
scary,
most
getting bit
of
by a
them-
snake or
and then
shocking myself with a car battery. That sounds.
well, to save your life, it'd
Yeah.
be worth it.
Yeah, but just I don't know, like the.
Well, Buzz knew about things, so he'd worked at zoos and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. But what was funny is that Vinny got bit too.
Really?
Yeah, he had that business where they did that logging, and they have trailers set out on sites where they're drilling, and then they do all that data stuff. And he went out to take up because somebody called in, and that somebody couldn't work. He would go out on their shift, so he went out there to record the stuff, and he was walking around that pad that they had built for the trailer. I don't know if it was a morning or evening, but he said he thought he stepped on a stick and it popped up and hit him in the leg. And he walked up and he looked back, and he saw that rattlesnake, and he looked at his leg, and there was 2 little holes there where that snake had bit him. And he was laid up for about 3 months. Yeah.
He said he didn't even notice. He just like it. I could see that where it feels like something.
Yeah.
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 Huh.
Yeah. No.
If he would have been wearing boots, he probably would have been fine. Was it that kind of thing?
Well, probably. Yeah. But most people don't wear snake boots. I only know one person who wears snake boots, Jim Porter. That's because he's from South Texas.
Mm.
They got lots of big snakes down there, and he's always, thinking about snakes because they got a lot more snakes down there too, I'm sure. But
what about the rattlesnake in the fridge, the freezer? I always like that story.
Oh, the one that was still alive?
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
It was alive?
Yeah.
The one we skinned?
No. It was at the newborn, I think. You put it in the freezer.
Oh, the one that's crawled up the door?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I used to catch those. You remember, I used to catch those rattlesnakes out there by the barn, and I'd go put them in that freezer. I just throw them in there alive and shut the door. Never thought anything of it. Went over and over. I don't remember who it was. I did it too, but I think somebody else. That rattlesnake had crawled over to the bottom, and he crawled straight up the inside of that door, and he was sitting on about that much of his tail, and the rest of him was straight up. And he was about a 3-foot long rattlesnake. And he was in a straight line, and he froze that way. Went over and opened that door, and that snake fell out. And all you could, when you opened the door, all you saw was a snake, and it would get your attention. I put it back just like that.
It's like,
yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, that sounds pretty.
Well, it wasn't necessarily funny, but
Scary.
it was startling. Definitely.
I think Aaron had some of those rubber snakes, and he would scare Grandma Jenny with those. He put them in the fridge and stuff. And
Really?
Hey, grandma's?
No, at the house when she'd come out there at the ranch. We thought it was real funny, but
Yeah, snakes don't make people very laugh very much. Somebody the other day asked me something about it. If I was the one that did put a snake in somebody's something.
Oh, yeah, who did that?
Well, that other guy accused me of putting one in his truck. I said, look, I even liked the guy. I wouldn't even do it to somebody I didn't like. I wouldn't do it to somebody I like. He says, well, you put a snake in my truck. I said, I didn't put no snake in your truck. He said, well, it was on my seat. I said, well, I didn't put it there. I said, it was, it got up in his truck. Just crawled up and found a hole and came in and got on his seat. He thought I'd put it there.
What kind of snake was it?
It was a pink rock rattler, I think.
He thought you put a rattlesnake in his truck.
He thought I put a rattlesnake in his truck. Yeah.
You got quite a reputation.
That was
That kind of hurt my feelings because
That was at the observatory.
Yeah,
That was a while
I know
back.
I was kind of
Yeah, you're a practical joke.
crazy,
Right?
but
Yeah,
I
he
didn't. I
was.
wasn't that
He
crazy.
still is.
No, that's not a joke when you do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no, that's when somebody can actually get hurt.
Yeah, you could kill somebody. No, I had nothing against that guy. I mean, he'd been with me on some of our escapades at time, and I guess he saw me do some things that he didn't maybe approve of or something, and thought I would do something like that. But I didn't ever do anything intentionally to jeopardize anybody,
Yeah.
murder them or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it happened, just natural. Is this paint kind of rubbery?
It's got a varnish or something on top of it.
Do you remember Patsy Granado?
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked at the ranch.
Miranda?
Miranda's.
Yeah.
She came by to see us when? 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago?
Showed up.
She's about your age.
Oh, she is?
39 or.
You mean Miranda is?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. I thought you were talking about Patsy. I was like, wow, I
No,
thought she was
but
way
she
older.
came and I couldn't. I hadn't seen her in
Yeah.
16 years. It turns out after we talked about it, but Randy was telling her about the practical jokes he played on Patsy. Tell him about that one, Randy, about the car. Cause she used to leave. Do you remember that car she drove? It was a white.
Old Buick. Or an Oldsmobile, one of the two.
Is it a big car?
Yeah, it was a big old white car, boat.
I kind of remember that.
Yeah, I used to play tricks on Patsy all the time.
Tell he was telling Miranda that at that time. Randy, tell him what you did to Patsy.
Well, I mean, I just put a bottle jack up underneath the rear end of her car, so that it was off the rear end, the back tires off the ground. She thought her transmission went out. She went and got in her car and she put in gear and just woo, about to blow the engine, and it wouldn't go nowhere. I'm glad it didn't fall off the bottle jack, 'cause she'd have been halfway across the county before she got to stop.
What she
But
did?
anyway,
She get pretty mad?
no, she didn't get mad. No, Patsy had a good sense of humor.
He was always a practical joker.
Yeah, she knew me pretty good. We got a good laugh out of it.
Because she just used to get in and go, you know. She was real funny.
Yeah, there she is. Her and her boyfriend.
And she looks pretty much the way I remember. I mean, just older, I guess.
Well, I was surprised. I guessed. I walked in, they said, "You know who this is?" And I go, "Oh, great." You know, and I looked at her and I mean, Miranda just popped in my head. You know, that's the only person that even, and I said, "Miranda, that was right." I didn't know I was right.
Yeah, I mean, she pretty much looks like she did when she was a little
Yeah,
kid.
no, she looked the same. She's got 3 kids.
Yeah. But I guess she's going through a divorce or she's separated.
Yeah.
This is a boyfriend or something.
It happens.
I need to contact old JT.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's right about an hour. A little over an hour.
We done?
Yeah, we can be. We can do another one tomorrow. Gotta remember what stories.
I can tell the same stories again. They'll sound completely different.
And there'll be a whole different story and you're going.
There's some other ones. I should have been writing down notes. The other ones. There's other ones I thought of that I didn't, or we kind of briefly talked about them that are still, I can remember. There's a couple different ones.
I'm sure there's more. I was trying to remember too.
Oh yeah, well,
Make some notes in them for.
it's
tomorrow.
funny because you know I got to hunting those. You're not still recording?
No.
You are?
You are?
Yeah, it's still going.
Oh.
I just checked the time.
No, but we started having a lot of luck at night. You know, hunting those cats at night. You know, by accident, basically. Well, I mean, it was an accident. We were out there hunting, but we actually started finding out some things about the lions and about the deer population, how the deer were, if we could find where the deer were at night, if a lion was around, he could be watching them,
Mm.
and or be on that little herd of deer, and or he might have already killed one. We found some that they just killed, and but we started finding at night we could catch them moving,
Mm-hmm.
and we learned some techniques that work good for getting shots at them, because it's kind of hard to get a lion to look in the dark at a light, because their eyes are so sensitive that they won't. If you ever hit them, if ever light ever hits their eyes, they won't look back again. They can see it, but they won't look at it enough to catch it. So we had some techniques that we used that worked pretty good, where we could keep them and we could follow them, and then we could work at getting shots. So the last time I counted, we shot 36 lions at night.
Oh, I remember another tale, the one over at the Lower Ranch with Earnhardt.
Oh, the one that, yeah,
Kevin.
that lion we called in. We'd been day calling coyotes, and then so that evening we were waiting for it to get dark, because it was late evening. It was kind of in a transition period between using lights, and there was not enough light to see. You couldn't see very far.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'd done, we'd gone and parked next to this big old canyon, and we walked up the edge of that canyon, and the sun was going down, and we were sitting on the edge of this bluff drop off, and Kevin was about probably 20 yards from me or so, and I was sitting out on the edge, and he was sitting on the end, and there's a big canyon in front of us, and then across on the other side, the canyon came up the other side, and another big flat, and we were calling to see if we could call a coyote across that flat. So we were kind of piddling. Well, it got dark, started getting dark, and we couldn't see much, and we'd been there for probably 30 minutes, and we were just piddling around waiting for it to get dark, and we were just playing with our calls. We weren't really trying to call anything in necessarily. We were making all kinds of noises and squeaks, and just doing all this stuff. And also, I hear this gunshot, and I look over at Kevin, and he's standing up with his feet about 4 foot apart. He was standing there, and he was looking straight at me, and I could see this lion flopping on the ground. And I run over there to where he's at,